Hello, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our yoga together with the Virtue Center and the YMCA. Just come on in and get settled on your mat or in your space, wherever you are. I know it always takes a few seconds to kind of get settled in and kind of just find our place with our technology and our ground or our mat here. So I encourage you to turn off what you can turn off and, just find some space for yourself on your ground or on your mat somewhere and come join us for about an hour today. If you haven't met me before, my name is Lee and I welcome you to our class together. I always like to say when we get started that whatever is comfortable for you, do it. And if there's something that we're doing together and you think, no, this is not for me, please find something else. Take a different pose, rest in the middle. My favorite thing in class is when someone's back there just lying flat out and taking a nap because they're listening to what their body's saying to them. And so welcome. We are working through another week. And I'm proud of you that you got here today. Our word or the thing we're going to think about today, our concept, is the idea of gratitude. And so I invite you to just come into your space and find something comfortable and seated, whatever that is for you. Something where you feel like in your chair or on your mat that you have a comfortable middle, evenly placed here wherever your bottom lands. And then we're just going to kind of keep easy on the shoulders here. And we're just going to close our eyes if you would like and start some breath. So we begin our practice today with just noticing the breath that's in our chest. The rise and the fall of our sternum here and our ribs. Just noticing the pace of our breath to begin. As we notice the pace of our breath, perhaps we just offer some relaxation to the shoulders, telling them they can let go. Adjusting ourselves here on the bottom side. Just noticing and responding, noticing and responding. Our practice today of gratitude has us gently asking ourselves a few questions and offering ourselves a new response. So however you've been seated so far, go ahead and either draw another leg forward, just switching yourself, or make an adjustment to yourself some other little way that kind of gives some relief to an area and kind of asks a little something more of another area of your body. As we begin this, perhaps we can send out our right arm with our palm kind of facing one another. Then we're going to take our left hand underneath those fingers and I'm pulling the fingers gently back to start to open up the forearm and the hand. Shoulder gently rolls away, dropping away from my ear, away from my neck. We've gone through this week and things have been stirred up. As we continue to breathe, can we think about things this week that annoyed us, frustrated us, caused us to be disappointed, maybe? These are the things that rise up in the day-to-day of living with ourselves and other people. And we release this right hand. Give yourself a little twist or a little roll or whatever this is for you. And then when you're ready, we're going to send our other hand, left hand down. And we're going to start to open up the palm here, gently pulling there with that right hand. Shoulder rolls away from my ears. And I just create a little tension and pressure here. So we've identified a couple of things that have frustrated us this week, kind of ruffled our feathers a little, and that's good. that's noticing. Just like we notice maybe what's going on in these muscles and tendons, these fingers and hands. We feel a stimulus and something kind of asks us to respond to it, and we do. And because this might start to get a little bit much on the hand, we release this left hand and drop the arms down into our lap. Leaning back and adjusting our legs once more, switching sides. Settling into our center. We're going to get into the tricep here, sending arm on the right, up and over to kind of land back behind us somewhere here near the shoulder. And then if it feels good for you, pulling this little elbow area back slightly to get into our tricep muscles here. Again, creating a little bit of a personal bind, a little bit of a personal squinch in the center, as we begin to notice how our actions create a reaction in our bodies. Finding a breath here in the middle, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Gently releasing these arms down to our sides, shoulder rolling in the middle if we'd like. Just noticing what's going on in the shoulders, perhaps in our back or necks. Pausing in the center, going over to left side, drawing left arm up and over, bending hand behind our backs. Creating a little bit of a bind and a stretch as I draw this right arm up and over and gently pull to my own ability, whatever is kind of working but not discomfort here. Find a nice deep breath when you're ready. Just noticing how this feels here on the left side. Gently releasing arms down to our sides, finding some hands in prayer. Elbows come out a little bit towards our sides, and we actively press these hands together, feeling the muscles turn on perhaps through the bicep, the shoulders, and across the chest on each side. As we press these hands together, lowering our shoulders so we create some space there. Perhaps we turn on our bellies now, holding ourselves here in the center, gently drawing in my lower abdominals here, but continuing to breathe. As we sit here, we just ask ourselves to have a nice, gentle, slow cycle of breath. As you continue breath cycle, my question for you at this point is, what is something that has happened today, last night, yesterday, this week, that you are actually grateful for? Can we find something? A kind word, an action, maybe something that didn't happen. We can be grateful for something that didn't happen as well. We have these prayer hands and we send the fingers down kind of in front of us. So I'm kind of pushing my fingers down and now lowering shoulders, pressing fingers down. Chest is activated once more. If we need to still go through our week or our days and think of something we're grateful for, that's okay. Sometimes we have a bumpy week where we're having a hard time finding something to be grateful for. That's understandable. When we find that thing, we close our eyes or we take our mind there and we say, this is what I'm grateful for in that moment. This is how it made me feel. This is what came out of it. And maybe that was a good thing. Nice work, everybody. Releasing our hands back up to the top, sending prayer hands up to the sky. This time, pressing our hands together. Back is nice and straight. Chest is working a little differently. Perhaps we notice how the arms are working a little differently. turning on the arms, pressing those hands together, pulling in my belly gently, and finding a nice deep breath, opening up my chest and my diaphragm nice and wide, inhaling through the nose, exhaling, releasing breath, and hands down to our side. So good. Leaning back into our hips a little bit, we're going to start with another kind of bind. So we're going to take right leg up and over left leg somehow. So for all my friends, this might look different for you in all different kinds of ways. If you're not feeling so bendy today, maybe we just have our legs out like this. If you're feeling a little more bendy today, perhaps you want to draw your knees in closer or closer, just depending on what your hips are feeling today. Our hips are where we hold a lot of stress. I bet you know that. And so we find a place where we can come to a stable kind of center again. And we just sit for a moment. We draw in that belly, shoulders back and down, and we're going to let the hips go here. So through our yoga practice, we do this with our intentional breath, inhaling in through the nose nice and fully, and exhaling out of our mouths. Shoulders are relaxed, belly is holding our torso here. As we turn our attention to this hip, we're asking the muscles, the tendons, and the tissues here to gently fall open. It's not always natural when we put ourselves into some kind of bind to let something go. Gratitude practice can be an acknowledgement that there is stimulus, that this is not a good hour of my life right now. Maybe I didn't make a good choice. Maybe somebody said something. Gratitude practice asks us to come into and acknowledge that there is a bind here. Come into the awareness of that. And then we know on the other end of that, that even though this is a reality of what's going on here, there is something through the experience that we can be thankful for. So to continue with that, let's try gratitude on the other side. Leaning back, gently pulling off this top leg. And when you're ready, slipping that top leg underneath somehow or in front somehow so that we can readjust our back sides and get this top leg over to some degree. Looks different for everybody. So just find your you. Oof. There's mine. So we sit here in this posture, shoulders back and down. I gently ask my stomach to hold this torso, shoulders, head, and arms up. Place your arms wherever's comfortable for you. And we start our breath. There may be a little discomfort here. One hip is always different than the other hip. If there isn't discomfort and you need a little bit more of a stretch, perhaps you just try something a little different. Pull a leg more deeply into the twist. Maybe you draw your legs back behind you. It's whatever your hips are saying to you today. If it's too much, feel free to just pull out and maybe we just have something a little easier in front, just depending. It changes from day to day. Our bodies are always changing based on the stimuli that we receive. As we are here in our center and we're continuing that gentle cycle of breath, drawing that breath in through our chest, in through our nose, filling the space up and exhaling slowly, we help to create a gentle cycle of calm, a little different than how we would feel if we were stimulated by a stressor. As we sit here, finding a breath. Perhaps there's something in the practice that you're doing with us today that you could be grateful for, that shows you something, invites you to think differently about something. One more round of breath as we're sitting here. In through the nose, out through the mouth. So good. Hands come down to our sides so that we can free these legs out of the way, and we are going to transition onto our laps in our knees. So a seated hero, I take my knees to the side, and I'm just going to transition onto my feet behind me. So my bottom is back here on my heels, and my feet are flat out. Sitting here, we're just going to kind of feel any kind of things that are coming up. Sometimes people feel it here in their knees. Sometimes this is too much on the front of our feet. And so we just adjust and make some kind of movement to make this more comfortable for ourselves. When you're ready, we're going to sweep our arms back behind us and just fold the arms, if you can see. One arm on top of the other. Rolling my shoulders down gently, pulling in my belly and finding some breath. Just noticing what's going on in the shoulders and then trying to relax them away, kind of letting them go. Sometimes if our chest is tight, this is a little difficult. So we use our breath to make a change somehow with our arms and find an adjustment there. Switching our arms so that the other one is on top or in front, just like we do our legs. And finding our breath again. This time, inviting our head and our neck to get involved. Perhaps we can take our head up to the sky, allowing head to drop back onto shoulders. Noticing the stretch there in whatever degree of rotation we have. Belly is still pulled in, shoulders are trying to relax. Head draws forward, and chin can drop to chest in an opposite position, now considering opening the back of the neck. Shoulders are rolled down, just finding our breath. Head comes back to center, and we release our arms to our sides. Positioning ourselves forward just momentarily, we're going to curl our toes under so that we can sit back into our heels once more. I'll turn this way so you can see what I'm doing. So that here we're opening up all that plantar fascia on the bottom of our feet, and we're just feeling. While we're here, we can give ourselves an extended stretch to the arms. I'm going to take these arms up and over my head to hands in prayer up in the sky again. So when you're ready, go ahead, inhaling, hands all the way to sky, finding hands in prayer up top, remaining here with the exhale, trying to find some space here in the shoulder area. Folding our arms back behind our head, so it's like that tricep stretch we did earlier. Hands in prayer pressed against one another, and our elbows are right by our ears. Finding a slow, steady breath here, deeply inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling, prayer hands back up to the sky, full breath. And releasing prayer hands down to the side. From here, we're going to rock back onto the balls of our feet. I'll turn this way so you can see me. I've got my feet underneath me, and my knees are kind of lateral out from my waist area. We're going to work on a little bit of balance together. Balance is one of those moves that takes us from a place of stability and comfort and draws us into a place where we feel a little off edge, a little off kilter. And what we're doing through the balance practice is teaching ourselves a few things. So, your choice. We can balance on the balls of our feet with our heels down low, or we can also draw the heels up higher, depending on what's comfortable and what feels like a challenge, or if you don't want a challenge today. Then we can gently try to lift the torso into our backside a little behind us. I have this arm underneath me as a kickstand on my mat. If this is too much for you and it feels a little too wobbly or off balance, feel free to just play with balancing yourself here with both hands on either side. I'm wondering if you might be feeling it in your hips or your knees. So as we are here, we're trying to get the majority of the work out of our fingers and hands so that our feet and our calves and our hips are taking the work. So if I keep my right hand down and lift my left one up, perhaps I notice how much weight I'm putting into a hand, and we can experiment with either side, which one makes me feel more or less comfortable, and just maybe connecting with that. What could that be? If this is, if this is not much of a challenge for you, and if you'd like to start to draw your torso upward, more upright again, feel free to place your hands in prayer if you'd like. To change the balance, you might even want to take your arms out to the side, kind of flying these wings here. Whatever feels good for you. For me, an ultimate challenge is this with my hands in prayer again. I know you can't see them, but they're up above my head. Hands in prayer. Ooh. Anytime you need to come down, come on down. And then we find our breath. Slow and steady through the emotions that we're doing. My calves and feet are telling me that I am just about done. So I'm going to go ahead and release my hands to the mat in front of me, walking hands forward slightly to find a table. Table releases the feet. Table is hands and knees. So here we are in our table posture. And perhaps we can give ourselves a couple rounds of cat-cow to let these feet kind of recover from that work. Cat-cow is a series of back bends and dips where we coordinate our inhales and our exhales. So if you know your cat-cows, feel free to go ahead and just go with it. We're going to try about 3 or 4 here. So I like to begin in cat. Knees are hip width apart. I press back through my back and I hunch through my shoulders. I'm squeezing my bottom and pressing my pelvis forward and down. And in this motion, I exhale all the breath that I have in my chest. Cow. I inhale, gaze forward and up, and I start to draw my energy from the dip in my back through the shoulders and up through the head. My tailbone is starting to pivot slightly, and my belly is dipping down in the middle. So cat, exhaling. Cow, inhaling nice and slow. Cat, when you're ready, exhaling. Cow, inhaling. Last one if you'd like. Cat, exhaling. Cow, inhaling. And back to table, exhaling. Child's pose as it's sitting back into our hips, extending these arms forward, dropping the head to the mat. And as you are there in your child's pose, we can work on stretching arms forward. We can make adjustments to the knees. Maybe you want them closer. Some people like to get them out of the way so that belly and chest can kind of come down into the center a little more. And we just sink there into our child's pose. As we are here in our child's pose, we notice the things that we've started to stir up in our bodies. Our body's talking to us, it's giving us signs and signals, and we're choosing to respond in ways that are healthy and safe for ourselves in a nice conversation. Lifting head above mat, gently dragging ourselves back up to table, and drawing our knees together here in the center. Table becomes a little high cobra when we press the table forward, chest comes forward, and we start to drop our pelvis and our hips towards the mat. Pressing out of my shoulders, and maybe even gaze comes up slightly, creating a back bend. We find our breath here, pressing out of our shoulders, out of the palms underneath us. Just noticing the difference in our breath here. Pulling back for table when you're ready. And child's pose goes all the way back through. Trying that sequence again. Inhaling up to table. High cobra, exhaling, pressing the pelvis down. Table, inhaling. Child's pose. One more time, inhaling table. High cobra, exhaling. Table, inhaling. Child's pose, exhaling. Drawing ourselves back up to table and using table to come back onto our bottoms to find a seated posture. So we meet ourselves back here up in the front. We're going to extend the right leg out from our torso here, and you'll see I have left leg kind of pulled into my body. I try to find a nice comfortable middle seated place in between my hips here. You might be off kilter a little, that's okay. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little bit of a lateral slide down this leg to get into my lower back. So this looks like, to me, my left hand is placed on the mat and my right arm is extended over my foot in the leg here. It's just a gentle kind of shift to the right. So instead of closing the gap, facing my leg and coming down, instead, excuse me, our lateral move is going to have our arm extended and we're just going to slide torso over towards foot and pause. Making adjustment to my head and neck, maybe I release or relax something there. So I try to get any pain or just an overexertion out of that area. Then I notice I need to pull my belly in, and that can help my torso here. Arm is hovering above foot. Drawing ourselves back up to the top. And now over to the right side with our torso, we face that extended leg. Feel free to sweep your arms to either side of your leg. And when you're ready, we're just going to walk ourselves down carefully to the place where our hamstrings or our back says, okay, that's where I am. Once there, we relax shoulders, neck, and head, and allow ourselves to feel what's going on here in the back area. Finding my breath and breathing through the stretch. To rise, gazing forward, pulling in belly, and then drawing torso back up to the top. Coming back to the center and switching our legs. So extending left leg out to the side. Right leg is just bent here in the center, someplace that works for you and your hips. And we just kind of find our center here, trying to get some degree of kind of equal seatedness underneath here. Then I have this left arm that I'm going to extend down that left leg. And if you'd like to place your right hand to the side, we pull in our bellies, shoulders away from the ear, and we're going to slide laterally over that foot, pausing, holding with belly, and just feeling the stretch there. So maybe we get into the groin a little bit. Maybe you're feeling it in your hamstring here. Hold yourself with the belly, careful on that back. Breathing through this stretch, noticing what our body can do and what it doesn't want to do. Sliding back up to the center. And when you're ready, taking both arms as we pivot towards the left side on either side of the leg, making any adjustments that you need to. And then when you're ready, head and chest lead, and we start to walk ourselves down this leg here, noticing the flexibility we may or may not have on this side. So careful on the back here, but we are leaned over this leg. Shoulders relax once we've gotten to the place where we are. Head relaxes. And we start that cycle of breath. Try to see what starts to open, maybe in the hip, the back, the hamstring. Gazing forward, turning on belly, drawing torso back upright. Coming to the center here, bringing our feet together for a seated cobbler. Cobbler has us adjusting ourselves back to the center and taking our hands underneath our feet. Then when we have a gentle grip here on our feet, we're going to lean back away from the groin and away from this middle area in order that we can start to activate a little pull here in the shoulder area. So send chest and belly slightly forward, lean back slightly. We're going to try to see if we can find a pull here in the shoulders. If you need a little bit more, I'm pressing the soles of my feet together actively, letting go of my hands just a little bit, and seeing if I can create some kind of letting go in my shoulders. You may start to notice some things going on in your hips too. Just make any adjustment you might need to. Sometimes folks like to send their feet forward and even put their hands on their shin bones. Same motion, same idea. Find your breath. Hold yourself with your belly. And gently release back up to the top. We're going to give ourselves a little runner stretch to finish this portion out. Left leg is going to extend forward. And to whatever degree is comfortable for you, we are going to try to release the right knee to the side or behind us. And I'll show you, and then you can find your space. So a runner stretch begins with us drawing a leg over to the side, if that's possible for your knee and your hip. Then the knee starts to come down, and depending on our flexibility or injuries, we try to find some kind of center here in the stretch. My toes are pointed away from my body. For some people, it's easier to tuck the foot underneath them. So this is going to be one of those postures that you find it for yourself. What are we trying to achieve in this posture? Hip opener on the right. Hamstring stretch on the left. So I'm going to just adjust myself to kind of try to achieve that, to achieve a stretch here on this right side in my hip. And if I gently press myself forward, to also find the hamstring stretch here on the left leg. So when you're ready, if you'd like to extend your arms in front, however this leg is, make it work for you. If you're here, you can come to the inside, whatever kind of modification you have. And we lead with the face and the chest, and we just press forward to the place where our body says, okay, that's it. We try to relax the tendons around that knee, So we avoid locking the leg out. Instead, to get the stretch, let the knee go and maybe even come up a little higher if you feel like it's too much. Find your breath here. Shoulders go easy. And if you'd like to drop your head, you are more than welcome to. Finding some breath. Just noticing. Gazing forward, pulling back with chest and belly, back up to the top. And to finish out this side, we lean a little bit back and we draw this right leg forward. And if possible, we're going to come up and over the front, right above the knee area. Just careful of that knee, not on the knee so we don't hurt it. And we create a little 4 stretch. So this is my 4 here. And we're just going to sit in this space for a moment. For some people, this is really too much. So different modifications can be a leg out to the side. You can have your foot on the ground. You could have your foot on the inside. That works for you. Or you could even have your foot drawn up farther than the knee, drawing it back towards the torso, just depending on what your hip area says today. So I'm sending chest forward again, and I'm just thinking about this hip area on the right. Relaxing knee on the left, and kind of just folding into this 4. Feel free to come down as far as your body would like. And as we always do, gazing forward, pulling in belly, and drawing ourselves back up to the top. We can give ourselves a twist here if we would like to. I'm going to take both arms up and over this bent knee to the right. So I'm torso twisting like we did earlier, over to the right side and planting my hand on the ground and on the knee. As I start to turn my head towards the right, I notice that I have a little more twist. I have a little more space to turn. Just depending on what you have here and what feels good, find a twist that works for you. Relaxing the shoulders. Hands are working, arms are working, but the hip is let go and the shoulders are let go. Gaze comes back to the front, and then we gently just draw these arms back to the front. Very nice. So when you're ready, go ahead and just extend that right leg. Sometimes I like to shake them out. Just kind of feel and notice what's going on there. And when you're ready, we're going to take our little runner stretch over to the other side. So leaning to the right, drawing this left leg to some place that we feel is comfortable for ourselves in a runner stretch. Whatever works for you, and just coming to our seated posture here in the center. I have my arms on either side of this extended leg, leading with the face and the chest, sending it forward, walking hands, relaxing this knee. You'll see a little play in my knee there. And then coming to the place where my body says, okay, that's good. And then dropping shoulders easy, head too, if that would feel good for you. Finding some breath here in the stretch, trying to relax the foot, trying to relax the knee. Gazing forward, pulling in belly, drawing back up to seated here. Ooh, I can feel that for sure. Leaning to the side, drawing this leg out, finding a 4 on this left leg. So I'm going to draw it up and over above my knee somewhere. Finding my seated middle. Just sitting up straight as much as we can. And then walking forward on this and folding down into our floor, relaxing foot and knee. Shoulders relax, head relaxes. Just finding our breath here. Making any adjustments as needed. Gazing forward, using belly, drawing ourselves back up to the top. Settling here for a moment and preparing for a spinal twist over to the left side. So we take both of our hands up and over this knee on the left to place them on the ground and maybe at the knee. Getting my shoulders out of the way. My gaze will start to track over towards the left side, and I'm using my knee to find some torsion for my twist. Find whatever twist works for you. Let's see if we can get the shoulders to relax a little, and this hip is going to try to relax too. Find your breath. Noticing what we feel here. And when you're ready, face comes back to the front, and we gently just draw these arms and everything back to the front with us. And when you're ready, go ahead, drawing both legs into you to find some kind of comfortable seated posture for yourself. And we come back here to our center where we started. Earlier in our practice, we got on our hands and knees and we did a cat-cow from our table. Cat-cow can also be done as we're seated. So our cat posture can be done by holding onto our knees gently, and we just press back into our shoulders and exhale, dropping chin to chest. Cow rolls forward, inhaling, pressing chest forward, maybe leaning forward a little. 2 more rounds, exhaling cat. And cow. And cat when you're ready. Cow. And your center. Switching our legs so that the other one's on top or in front. And gently placing our hands on our knees. If you would like, feel free to flip your palms over. In the practice of yoga, our hand gestures are called mudras. And a mudra is a sign of intention. It's a sign that we're doing something to make a gesture between the mental and the physical. Maybe even other things too, spiritual, emotional. And I invite you to come, kind of just draw inward into your own space here. Just sitting here in this body. Our hands upward facing palms in a gesture of receiving. Although being grateful is not always something that's easy to come by. We sit here in this posture together, finding something to be grateful for. As we find that thing or that action or those words, we can imagine our hearts as something that can open just a little bit. to receive what that was. Receiving that encouragement. Perhaps receiving the knowledge that you needed. Perhaps it was just a moment of joy. Taking that into our hearts, because that is a good thing. And we hold that there. You're invited to take a slow, deep breath just in through your nose. Just exhaling at your own pace. As we end our time together, we finish up by sending our hands out to the sides. We inhale that final deep inhale up to hands in prayer, up at the top. Drawing the prayer hands down as we exhale to come to rest in front of our chests. Thankful to you for the time you spent on you today. Thankful to you for being intentional. Thankful to your practice of receiving something good and taking it with you on your journey. Until I see you again, namaste. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our class together. And this week and next week will be the last two that we have through the Virtue Center together. And so next Wednesday, if you'd like to join us at the same time, we will be here. And so until we do see you again, wishing you a wonderful day. Goodbye.